And indeed, we are your election headquarters. There's a crunch meeting as we speak among top executives of the National Democratic Congress to draft out resolutions to forestall the recurrence of chaos that marred the National Youth and Women's Wing elections on Saturday. Two persons, as we understand, are sustaining various degrees of injury at the Congress grounds after the aftermath or altercations that happened between delegates. It took the timely intervention of the Ghana Police Service to contain the situation. Leading members of the party are currently meeting here in Accra. We can now take a listen to the chairperson of the National Planning Committee, Alex Sewefia, who says that the party will be coming up with security modalities as the party elects its chairpersons and other national executives in the final lap of the party's internal elections. I caught up with him moments ago here in Accra.
Well, first and foremost, I must say that it was a successful conference. We now have a new set of executives for both the women's wing and the youth wing. It didn't pass without challenges, and the challenges actually stemmed from the delegates list. The women and youth cycle is very different from, that's for the Teyin and the Wukom, it's very different from our traditional timetable. So as a political party, we know that all our elections are every 4 years. So the branch elections take place after 4 years. Then once you finish the branch, you go to constituency, region, and then national. With the Teyin and the Wukoms, it's an annual based issue. So every year they have elections because their calendar is an academic year calendar. And so it is fraught with difficulties in clearly identifying who are the delegates in terms of who are the elected people, the president and etc., that are going to be those who are going to vote. And because it's an annual cycle, it's without specific dates. Some people have their election before we begin our cycle. No problem, their delegates are very clear. Some people have their elections while we are in our process. So you can finish your constituency elections, and when you're going to your national, regional elections, some people have had their elections and now have new delegates. And then there's an argument as to, is it the old ones that are allowed to vote or the new ones? Some even have it between the region and the national, and the same argument then erupts. Then some, because they want to remain and vote, won't have elections at all. They stall. And then people who have actually left the tertiary institution want to come back or come back and vote. And our rules are that once there's no election, and more importantly, if you are even in mid-cycle, the ones who started the process are the ones who vote. Now, this doesn't go down well because some people feel it's deliberate, and it has links with who people think will vote for them, who might have to leave or not, at the constituency level, at the regional level, and then finally at the national level. And so you have to actually go through it painstakingly. Over the years, tertiary institutions also increase. So you have a situation where in the past, maybe say in 1994 or 2000, you had a limited number of tertiary institutions, but they are moving up almost exponentially. So we are getting to the point where tertiary institutions voters may quickly outnumber the traditional constituency executives that are allowed, delegates who are allowed to vote. And this is creating tension. We recognize this as a party, and we're looking at to do some constitutional amendments in January of this year. Unfortunately, they didn't take place. So one of the things we have to do is have that constitutional amendment and change the guidelines for the teens and for the youth area and the women's area. But we were saddled with the position that we have with the current constitution. And therefore, notwithstanding the fact that we had put out a delegates list and we thought that all would be well, people were still not satisfied. So it raised its ugly head again on the Friday into the Saturday. And we had to spend a lot of time putting that together. In the end, we got consensus.
In fact, we'll be going into the details, finding out what it is that leadership of the party intends to do. But at the end of the day, I recall you saying that the NDC was the victor.
Yes.
there are many who disagree with you, who believe that looking at the rancor, the level of anxiety even amongst the delegates leading to the process and the aftermath, which, I mean, resulted in some level of clashes between rivalry factions, the exercise was not as smooth as you expected it to be.
I think that to get a good feel of the situation, one has to understand that you are never going to, when we had the negotiation, we said them, look, what you need to accept is that we come to a situation which you can live with. We don't ask you to be happy with it. Everybody would end up with a situation where they will be unhappy. And it's an election. So there's always going to be winners and losers. And the losers will always have a reason why we lost, and the winners will also have a reason why they think they won. We can't go into that as the referees. All we say is, did we do our best to give a level playing field? And we think we did. It wasn't easy, but everybody in the end agreed that this was what we were going to use to work with. And we got winners and we got losers. Congratulations to the winners, commiserations to those who lost. But it's an internal fight. So we expect everybody to come on board. And now we do the reconciliation work that needs to be done as a matter of course to make sure that everybody comes on board. That is not to say that we do not accept that there were issues that have to be resolved. And as I said, we even anticipated some of it by reason of our Special National Congress and the amendment to the Constitution. But that is something that we have to do later down the line and set some parameters for the future to ensure that we don't go through such a process again.
2 persons reportedly sustaining injuries. I don't know what their health status is now. Are you able to provide some updates on the unfortunate clashes that emerged? And deal with the concern that this may degenerate and that it may lead to faults and cracks within the NDC. I'm not sure that's what you want to achieve, looking at the theme of your party, which is reorganizing for Victory 2024.
The first thing I'll say is that we condemn the violence that occurred totally. It's totally on NDC. We have made it clear we are not interested in any form of violence within our setup. And therefore, we commend the police for carrying out investigation, identifying perpetrators. They had their cameras there and videotaped themselves what was happening. And we will give them all the support they need. I'll take this opportunity to commend both the police force and our internal security team who were able to calm matters pretty quickly. How did it begin? We had kept quite a bit of time in trying to sort out the delegates list. When we finally did that and we announced that we were ready to start the election, it became clear that there were people in the hall who should not be there. So we asked for the whole hall to be emptied in order that we could now admit those that had to be admitted. And it was clear that people came there with ulterior motives. Who brought them, why they were there, I can't go into. We're hoping the investigation will help us unravel that. But the bottom line is once they got outside, had what happened outside happened inside, we would have had a bigger problem. Our security team advised that everybody should be out. And fortunately, once they were out, people had a way to escape the area. But if it had happened indoors or in the hall, it would have been a totally different story than the one we are telling now. The beauty, or the good part of it, not beauty, the good part of it was that it was brought to order pretty quickly. So after the initial mayhem that occurred, it was brought to order. The police did what they needed to do and brought things under control. Quickly, they helped the EC to... We even felt that at one point, maybe some people didn't want the election to go on. And that could have been part of the reason. But I only put it there as a possibility. Till the police finish their investigation, we will know. But we were, with the advice of the planning committee members present and the security agencies, look, have this election and let it be over and done with. So we went ahead, had the election. And I'm happy to say that when that happened, it was a successful election. And kudos to the EC for the work that they did on the day, but more especially to the security agencies, both external and internal.
Are you holding some individuals accountable? Some of your party members are asking that the candidates, or perhaps those who may have won the election, pay some price for it. Well,
that is in the realms of speculation. Why? because the police are carrying out an investigation, and we've said anyone who is clearly identified as having been responsible through the investigations, we as a party will take steps to deal with it.
Are you saying you have no idea of?
Oh, we've heard the rumors, but we cannot work with rumors, and so I'm not even going to begin to talk about speculation. Once the police are involved and an investigation is going on, I'm sure they'll get to the bottom of it. We have a security team as well. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. It could be supporters of a particular candidate. It could have been non-NDC people. They are thugs for hire. Who hired them? Who brought them in? Those are the questions that we need some answers. And because, pardon?
They were hired.
No, I said there are in our system thugs for hire. They don't belong to MPP. They don't belong to NDC. They are there. If you need things done, they are available to come in. So was that the situation or not? An investigation will unravel that, and then we are in a better position to advise ourselves on the way forward. We condemn it. We are not part of it as a planning team. We hope none of our people are involved in it, but if they are, we will not shield them as a party.
You have a bigger exercise looking
Yes.
up to the next weekend, Saturday. Some say this is a precursor to what we should be expecting, and that you need to take proactive measures to deal with that. What measures are you taking as the planning committee to ensure that this does not degenerate?
As you can see, we're in a hall where we're about to have a planning committee meeting. And one of the things that is going to be designed, there'll be a post-mortem of the events that occurred last Saturday. And then there was also going to be a plan put in place for this Saturday. There are things we can learn, but there are also differences. One, this is an open-air event in a stadium. There are different ways of segregating the various people that are coming, region by region, observers, the main delegates, etc. So the concerns may vary. We also have the difficulty of the numbers. You're looking at 5 times the number that was in Cape Coast minimum. And therefore, the security setup would be a little bit more stringent. And so we hope that certain things will not become a problem on the day. But based on the way the police behave and our internal security operated, I'm quite confident that we'll have a successful Congress on the Saturday. There will be some unhappy people at the end of the day because it's an election. There will be some very happy people at the end of the day. But once again, like on last Saturday, NDC will be the victor.
Yeah, but I'm not sure you're glossing over the lows during the youth and women's wing elections. The fear is this has a bigger stake. Looking at the level of animosity even within your party rank and file ahead of the main exercise, you need to tighten security.
Well, yes, but I'm not going to go into security details or issues on.
But what's going to be unique about it, at least just to give that sense of confidence that the NDC is indeed ready for the exercise?
Well, as I said, if it wasn't for the swift intervention of the police and then subsequently the internal security that we had in place being put in, being where they were, if it wasn't for the security issues that we had put in place, it would have been a different story. We are satisfied that our security worked. Even with the police, it worked. And that for us is fine. Yes, we are not going to sleep on it. Lessons learned from Saturday. It will be tighter because of the numbers. Anyway, regardless of what happened on Saturday, the style of security may also be different. The personnel may be different. But one of the things we've done is, and we said it before, we were looking at 13 polling stations. We are having 17. We want the voting to be over and done with. We are going to let people that have finished able to leave and go back to their regions and wait for the results as they come, as opposed to staying behind. So there are many things we are going to put in place which will ensure, we like to think, a safer and a better Congress on Saturday.
And finally, how do you deal with, of course, your critics who are out there saying what happened on Saturday shows that you're not united and ready to recapture power in 2024?
We were able to do a democratic process. allowing those that had to vote to vote. When the MPP had their elections, their way of dealing with the issues that I have just discussed, nobody in Tescon votes. It affected contestants. People were punished for that. We allowed our Tains to vote. We allowed our Wukoms to vote. We were practicing democracy. We are way ahead when it comes to that factor. Yes, we had challenges. They had challenges. The issues are clear. We know what they are. We know how we are going to resolve our challenges. It is clear. And speaking to you, I haven't tried to fudge any issues. I haven't said that there was no violence and therefore there were MP people who came and did what or not. I've said that anybody who is found culpable will be dealt with, both internally, and we assist the police to do the same. This is the NDC, not the MPP. We will get it right on Saturday.
Your message to supporters out there?
Come and be part of this great historical event taking place on Saturday. The NDC is going to elect new officers to man the party through the 2024 elections because Ghana needs rescuing. We are Ghana's hope. Thank you.
And even as we speak, we can't confirm that that meeting is still underway here in Accra. The likes of the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, are locked at in that meeting. It's all to fashioning out the modalities ahead of the primaries. Quite a crucial contest the NDC will be having at the weekend already. There's a lot of contest, a lot of anxiety on the part of both the delegates and some of the contestants. The chairmanship race is something to look out for. We have the incumbent General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia going against the incumbent national chairperson of the NDC, Ofosu Ampofu. The two have been crisscrossing the country trying to get the buy-in of delegates as they converge this weekend for that crucial exercise. The General Secretary position is also becoming vacant for the first time in 17 years. So you have the likes of Fifi Koite, who's also running for the position. We have Elvis Zefiri Ankara and the Deputy General Secretary, Otokono, also going into that race. So how will the NDC manage this exercise, and how crucial is it to their reorganization process ahead of the 2024 elections? I want to bring in now Dr. Lidu Seidu, a political scientist at the University of Ghana. Doc, thank you for your time here on The Pulse. So you've heard from the chairman of the planning committee. The weekend wasn't too good for the NDC. Violence erupted, 2 persons sustaining varying degrees of injuries, and it's all because of the rancor and rivalry between ostensibly the youth candidates, if we need to be fair. We're still waiting for the official position from the Ghana Police Service. But of course, if you look at how that contest was, some believe we're just having a spillover and that the leadership of the NDC would have to take proactive measures to avert this from recurring this weekend. What's your take on this?
Thank you so much. What happened over the weekend is something that dented the image of the electoral processes. But electoral violence is a structural thing in developing countries' democracy, especially in Ghana. We have witnessed it in the internal elections, but also competition between even the 2 major political parties in the country within the Fourth Republic. But to have seen it play out the way it happened over the weekend, we see serious concerns. And if you look at what's going to happen this Friday, be, say, the chairmanship position, the general secretary position, and all the other very important positions compared to what happened, compared to the magnitude of the youth organizer positions and then the women's organizer positions, you tend to see that the stakes are going to be very high. Most of these things, I must say, are not party-induced or party-owned. You usually see individual competitors bringing people that they think can help them win the elections in a more forceful manner. So what happened over there, what I expect the NDC to do is to set up a committee to investigate the disturbances and the culprits that are found to have perpetrated those acts, if they are members of the party, a firm decision and the message should be sent strongly.
At least we're getting a sense of what may happen with regard to that call you're making. The chairperson of the planning committee says the party is leaving everything to the Ghana Police Service.
So I think that is good, but I think the party should go beyond that. If the police service are conducting this because what happened was a breach of public peace, it's criminal within our national constitution. But what will the party do to elements within the party or members of the party who have brought these people to cause this mayhem and to damage the brand of the NDC as a political party? So the NDC has to disassociate itself from this violence, and the best way they can do that is to take a decisive action. If those people are members of the party has a right to punish them, sanction them, dismiss them from the party, or fine them to show that moving forward, we are not going to tolerate violence within our party. And our message is loud and clear. Sell policies to the Ghanaian electorate and tell them how we can behave differently from the governing national New Patriotic Party and all other political parties in this country. If they leave it to just the police service, they are going to deal with the criminal aspect of the law per Ghana Constitution. But what will the NDC say about the image that this has caused to the party? They also have to take an action to disassociate themselves from, as a party, from what has happened, and to also let people who will be coming to the elections that will be happening on the 17th know that the party will not condone and tolerate any act of violence, no matter who you are, whether you are a party person or somebody who is competing has brought you to do this. We are not going to let you do it and go scot-free. We're going to deal with you as a party. That's one of the best ways they can exonerate and clear their name as a political party.
We've just heard from the chairperson a while ago indicate that the crunch meeting is underway. Obviously, he would not put out the security detail. But if we're to check this decisively, how about dealing with the vigilante groups? He says there are thugs for hire. Those are the words of the chairperson of the planning committee. So it appears issues of vigilantism are rearing their ugly heads here again.
Yeah, I think we've done a couple of studies on the activities of these groups. And what came up strongly, contrary to popular opinion, is the fact that vigilante groups are not owned by political parties as per our political institutions. Vigilante groups are established, financed, and used, resourced and used by elements within political parties that feel expedient to use them to gain political clout and political advantage. They are largely used for the purposes of leverage. So there is a business cycle to the activities of vigilante groups in our political discourse. They are rented, they are used, they are very mobile, they are highly volatile and very violent. And they are for sale, like he mentioned, to all political parties. They can be used for land litigation, disputes, and all those other things. So what we need to do is to not only strengthen and enforce the Vigilantism and other related offences act, but political parties also have to take decisive actions to minimize the role of violence and the use of force in determining the outcome of internal and external elections, but rather encouraging the whole concept of what? Issue-based campaigning, character, experience, competence, and qualifications. Once they are able to project this over violence, it gets to a point that when you are relying on this kind of tax to win elections, you are not going to make it. And people now begin to see that it's a serious disincentive to contesting elections. So political parties also have to take decisive internal actions to discourage the whole concept of godfatherism, and then members within their political parties that use these groups for the purposes of political and business leverage. They should discontinue those things and shouldn't let them profit from it. So it is a serious business that is now affiliated to our politics and it's across all political parties. And it poses a serious danger to the development of our democracy. And I think it is a collaborative effort, not just from the Ghana police and other security agencies, but the political parties as well, to make it unattractive for people to leverage on these groups for electoral purposes.
We're beginning to see a trend already. If, of course, we can make a forecast from that. There's that trend of many of the national executives of the NDC retaining their position. At least that's the trend we witnessed over the weekend. You have the likes of George Opariado, and I wish we could just get some of the results on the screens right now, so it gives us a sense of what we're dealing with in terms of the outcomes of the elections. You have George Opariado, for instance, retaining his seat, except that the margin have closed up a bit this time round in terms of his contest with Broja Jemfi. We'll try and get some of the results for you. And you have, for instance, Hannah Bisu retaining her seat as the women's organizer of the NDC. Same can be said about some of the deputy positions and roles within the NDC. What does that say about what's likely to happen this weekend? You've been paying attention as well to some of the dynamics.
So from a rational voter perspective, the electors think that it is not a good idea to change a winning team. So even though the NDC as a political party lost the 2020 elections to the New Patriotic Party, there were clear signs that the NDC was able to uptake the percentage of votes that they had at the national level. They increased the voter margins compared to what they lost with in 2016. If you look at the number of seats that they had in parliament, they were able to gain traction. They had increased by several number of seats that they took from the governing New Patriotic Party. And you could see the whole element of momentous rise and interest in the activities of the political parties. So the delegates are thinking that if this crop of executives are able to increase our gains, both at the presidential level and also the parliamentary number of seats, why do we have to change them? People always want to be with the winning team. So I think the trend is now showing that maybe it's good we maintain them rather than change them. And if we give them a second opportunity, maybe they'll be able to uptake on what they have, their performance from 2020, and they can hand over power to the party. And if this analysis is correct, then it means that what we're going to see in Friday may not vary so much from what we have seen over this weekend. So people are still retaining confidence and trust in the leadership that led them to the 2020 elections, and thinking that if we give them another opportunity, they'll be able to do better in 2024.
Weekend. Johnson Asiedu Nkita up against Ofosu Ampofo. That's a contest we are all looking at for. And then for the very first time, the General Secretary portfolio of the NDC is becoming vacant after 17 years.
Yeah, I think the chairmanship position is going to be a very serious one. I think the General Asiedu Nketia, former General Secretary, still General Secretary Asiedu Nketia, and then Ofosu Ampofo, incumbent chairman, are all very kind, industrious, hardcore party people who have made meaningful contributions to the development and growth of the NDC as a political party. And I think they all have unique expertise and experiences that the party will need in 2024. So it is sad that though in political processes, you cannot dissuade somebody from contesting. It is part of their rights if they are qualified to contest to go ahead. But I think the NDC needs both these two very unique characters to be able to lead their campaign in 2024. My fear is that at the end of the day, one of them is going to lose and another is going to win. If care is not taken and the post-electoral unity is not brought on board, the losing candidate may develop a sudden apathy and may want the victor to move ahead and see whether he can win elections for the party. If that happens, then it's going to pose a serious challenge to the electoral victory. What the party can do is to quickly make plans for post-election reconciliation processes, including awarding a very lucrative party position to maybe the losing candidate to be able to bring him on board.
And I just need to take you on briefly on that point. We've not independently verified this, but we've heard, for instance, from the likes of the incumbent chairperson of the NDC, Ofosu Ampofo himself, say that the General Secretary, outgoing now, has put some demands on the table. He was asking, at least he missed that opportunity to be vice presidential candidate of the party, and he would not heed calls not to run for the chairmanship position. His fear is that the NDC may be disintegrated after this contest. Is that a genuine concern?
Everything is possible because we still don't know how Friday is going to pan out. The strategies that they all have on their slaves, they're very known, and then the unknown ones, the surprises they'll pull. Will the processes be seen to be free and fair and credible? All these things will come into play. Even if I lose, and I know I've lost in a very fair manner, and the processes was free and credible, then even the likelihood of me developing apathy will be less than if I suspiciously believe that the processes wasn't free and fair. I don't think it will disintegrate the party. It may create a little bit of apathy on the part of the losing candidate and perhaps very hardcore supporters of that particular candidate. But I think there's still more time. They can still talk to them, the losing candidate. They can still offer them very lucrative, influential portfolios within political party campaign structure, but also even within government if they win, to be able to bring them on board. I don't think it will completely disintegrate the party. It may get a little bit of fraction and disunity, but I still believe it's something that the party can still bring on board, bring the feudal factions on board, and be able to get them. I think they all want to contribute to the betterment of the NDC. And losing the position that you are vying for doesn't mean that you still wouldn't have a role to play in contributing to the victory of the party. There are still a lot of roles that the party can assign to the losing candidate in the campaign processes, but also even when they eventually win national elections and in government. So I still think there's a lot that can be offered on the table as part of the negotiation process to get the losing candidate to come on board. Whatever the issue might be, the NDC will need both General Asido Gitia and Chairman Ampofo in their campaign in 2024.
You want to hazard a guess as to who may win?
No, please.
Anyway, we'll leave that for now. Dr. Halidu Seidu, thank you for your time here on The Pulse. Political scientist at the University of Ghana.